Good evening, everyone. Hi, Bijane.
Hey, how you doing, Dr. Houston? How's your day going?
It is going well. I can't complain. We
All right.
are back in school,
We are
so
back.
we've had a very successful week on the home front as well as on the school front. So back in school and back to school, and we're hoping to bring educators and parents a great resource today. How are things your way?
Same here. We're back in full effect, full steam ahead, as they say, with all back to school activities from, like you said, from families to teachers to school. So I'm excited about the school year and what the school has to offer. And I'm excited about us hosting this Power of Collaboration, where
Yes.
we're sharing great resources for educators, school communities, and families. So, yay!
Yes, I'm glad you said that because I'm excited too. We had a great convocation um, this school year. So everybody was back in person for the past couple of years, because of COVID, it's been virtual. So just being back together gives a different energy to everything. So I'm really excited about what this school year is going to bring. So, welcome to Connecting Educators with Great Resources. I'm Dr. Sheikah Houston, and my co host, Ms. B. Janae, our grant guru, is with us. I am the co founder of Create and Educate LLC, and we are a literary and educational consulting firm. We offer best selling authors, educational leaders, and co hosts. Oh, I'm sorry. We are best selling authors, educational leaders, and co hosts of the collaborative that brings stakeholders together to solve problems in education. And we also co host the Real Academy, where we offer PD to all stakeholders based on our real framework that we created that helped Tammy, my partner's elementary school and my middle school improve 2 and 3 report card grades in one school year. So connecting educators to great resources is our final service, and we offer that's what we're here today to do. So our schools really can't thrive without great resources, and that is one reason why we wanted to try to be intentional about finding innovation, because that's one of the things that helped us to improve, just thinking outside of the box and being intentional about that. So before we get started, Bijane, if you could also tell them about what you do and how you help educators with grants and could possibly help even authors and entrepreneurs with grants. And I'm going to feed us through to some other groups to get people to join us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Welcome again to the Power of Collaboration. I'm today's co-host, Bijane Kareem. I am an equity advocate, an educator, or author, and the founder of BK International Education Consultancy, where our mission is to help amplify education equity so children of color can access innovative education regardless of their zip code. And I remember as a classroom teacher for over 10 years, I was often either one frustrated with the resources and the trainings that I attended because I didn't feel like it moved the needle for my kids, and also having to constantly spend out of pocket for supplies and books and materials. But what I did enjoy in my tenure as an educator was being able to support other teachers and being able to create culturally relevant learning spaces, and being able to find the dollars, being able to find funding for classroom projects, materials, and resources. And so I launched BK International Education Consultancy back in 2012. So we're celebrating our 10th year anniversary, where our social good mission, thank you, is to increase students' access to that innovative education. And we do that by providing coaching, training, and self-paced courses on grant writing, as well as STEAM education. We also have toolkits, um, one of them being our most popular, called 12 Quick Steps to Writing Winning Classroom Grants. And so this is a fan favorite of schools, daycares, and teachers as well, because it's a grant writing starter guide. It helps educators to turn their lesson plans into grant applications, winning grant applications. And the great thing about it is that authors, especially if you're a children's book author, but any author, you have a great connection with children and with teachers. Over 80% of teachers are women. And so if you have any books that cater to women, to educators, to help support education in any fashion, you could get grants to help distribute your books to schools, help increase your readership, also help to increase sales. I know a lot of times we've come across authors who are so kind that they often donate their books, but there are ways that you can tap into grant funding to be able to distribute those books, get those books printed, also cover those shipping costs so that you can get your books in the hands of educators and or children. And so we're excited to be able to hear our featured guest today, our featured guest author, to learn more about her book and how it can support school communities. And then I am happy to share some tips on things for her to consider to tap into grants to help support that process. And here we go. How are you, Arthur Chandra Perry? How are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. So we were just talking about back to school. How has your back to school been going so far?
You know, it's been pretty good. It's still an adjustment coming from, having the whole summer off.
I know.
But I feel like the kids are a lot more acclimated this year because they had that full year last year. So it does definitely, you can see the difference.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about your education background. So what are you don't have to name any names, but just tell us, like, what do you teach? Our listeners would love to know that.
Yeah, so for the last 8 years, I've been working at a inclusion-based school. And basically that's a school with a heavy population of special needs children. That school has really inspired me to write one of my books, I'm sure we'll get into a little bit later, called My Special Friend Sam. It's about a child who has autism. And also I've worked with children for a collective of 12 years. So children ranging from age 0 to 12.
Oh wow! My hats off to you.
Yes,
My hats off to you. One for the age range, but also for serving that special group of little ones. So thank you for all your work that you're doing in the education field.
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to pass it back over to Dr. Shika to get us going with some of our questions for you tonight, to dig in a little bit deeper so we can find out about these wonderful books that you created that help families, educators, and children as well.
Most definitely. And good evening to our guests that are joining us. Thank you all for joining, and feel free to share the feed so that other people can find out about these great resources. I love the fact that you are an educator and have created resources, because you definitely know like what was missing, that what you needed. And so sometimes when it's coming from that lens, it's definitely something that can be used by educators and by parents, especially, being in the field that you work in special services. So tell us a little bit about, you have 2 books, right?
Yes, I have 2 children's books and I have 3 journals.
Okay.
But the 2 children's books,
tell us about them all. Them all.
So this first book is called Omak the Frog. This is for children ages 4 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically just a story about teaching children how to love themselves and how to dream big and how the things that make us different make us special.
Oh, I love that.
So it's about a frog named Omak.
And where did you get that name from? Omak, that's a unique name, kind of like Bijane. That's a unique name.
It is. So it's actually a common name in Trinidad and Tobago, and that's where my family is from.
Oh,
okay. So that's where I got the name from.
Island Girl. All right. All right.
Yes.
Great that it brings that cultural connection in there too, for students, and the fact that it teaches them to love themselves, and I think you said to be kind Is that right?
Yeah,
Those
right, to highlight that what makes us different makes us special.
awesome. That would definitely fall in line with social and emotional learning right now, making sure that students are self-aware, and we always highlight, just being kind. Sometimes our children can be, a little bit brutally honest and hurt one another's feelings. So we have to stress that from pre-K on up. I posted one day about how my children are hard on me. Um, I think I had on black. Everybody likes to wear black. It makes you look thin. Oh, and I thought I looked so nice. Mommy, you look like you're going to a funeral. Why, thank you. That wasn't the best compliment. But, I have a high self-esteem, but children who are developing their self-esteem, it's easy to break them down when they hear things from their peers. So we always stress being kind. And I don't think that's something that we can overstress. So sometimes people think children's books are only for smaller children, but I like to use them in the secondary level just because they're quick, they're short, they're easy to connect to, and then you can take that secondary topic and connect it to that book. And everyone loves a good children's books story. Even adults like storytelling. So having that in the secondary level to be able to build relationships and build communities and classrooms is a great way to do that. So I really think most books are K-12. So what about your second book?
My second book, I actually don't have a copy of that one, but it's called My Special Friend Sam. And it's basically looking at special needs children through the lens of a typical child, and how to highlight the positive things and the things that make them similar, versus picking on a child or laughing at them. But it makes it a way to kind of bring everyone together. So it's called My Special Friend Sam. Yeah.
And that's needed, especially like you talked about with the inclusion model, because, students are mixed in. And if you're a younger pre-K or elementary student and you have not had those experiences where you have come across people who may have disabilities or special needs, then, sometimes it's hard to understand. We had one of our youth pastors was basically in a wheelchair, and it was from an accident from his youth. So my younger daughter would ask questions that you think are things that you don't want people to feel bad. She would say, "Well, what's wrong with your legs?" And I would say, "Well, no, don't ask that." But he would always say, "No, it's okay." I like to explain to them what happened, just so they will know and they will understand, and just bring that level of understanding to it, so where they can have that empathy.
And I love the fact that your books are inclusive. So I don't know if you know, but in Georgia specifically, the governor just passed some funding specifically to help support education, but there's a set aside for special education and for teacher resources. So that would be great resource for you to tap into and possibly get your books in school, because it helps address that. Both of your books, the Omak book and my Special Friend Sam, because they're helping in the SEL space. They're also helping in the special education and the inclusion space as well. So I'm sure you could not only, probably do a little research and find out about that pool of funds, but also some grant opportunities, probably using those keywords as well to help you, get your book, you get more of your books out there.
Yes. Yeah. My vision for it is that it would be like a staple for Exceptional Children's Week when it comes around, and Autism Awareness Month in April. It's just something that really any classroom could use.
Absolutely. So inspiring, Chandra. So inspiring.
Thank you.
Now, those are your children's books, but tell us about the adult books journal
Yeah.
that you have here.
So to pair with the autism book, I have a 90-day awesome parent journal, and that is like a gratitude journal for parents to mark their daily
Wins, victories,
thank you.
successes.
Their daily victories, just kind of document how their day went, in a way to kind of pull out the positive things. So
I like that.
that pairs along with the Sam book, and then I also have a blank journal called "Turning Power into Pain," and I have one for the single ladies. It's called "The Emotional Roller Coaster of a Single Gal."
I need to get that. What's the journal? What's that focus on?
So that one, like, I know a lot about being single because I've been single for so long. And I said, well, let me turn this into, the best books come from your own experience.
That's true.
Mhm.
So it's just a book of journal prompts, and it kind of gives you those thought-provoking questions as to make you kind of wonder and find the answers to why you're single. And then you kind of go through those different like celebratory phases where you're, different emotions, ups and downs. So it just kind of really draws everything out for you and puts it in plain vision for you.
Okay, I'm gonna call you the SEL queen over here. Okay,
Yes. That definitely falls under that self-awareness part of SEL. So even from a school perspective, as a principal, we will always look for nice gifts that people would like. So those journals could even possibly be gifts for some of the staff members that, of course,
true.
it would be fitting for. Tell us, and we have, lots of authors that tune in because authors like to get tips from other authors. What is the most valuable tip that you could offer someone who may be aspiring to be an author or a current author?
So one really important tip that I think is important to highlight is that there really are no shortcuts in writing children's books.
Mm-hmm.
You really have to plan, you have to brainstorm, you have to pay attention to details. There's a lot that goes into it. And I would not go into it with the mindset of trying to rush through it, but I would really kind of take my time and sit in it and make sure that you like what you're putting out, that it represents you and what you stand for. So, yeah.
I like that.
That.
Yeah, me too. Is there one place that you could tell a children's book author to start? So like in terms of like getting clear, getting focused on what it is. Any other suggestion on where they should start first? So after they are clear, then what would be their next step you would recommend?
So the brainstorming process, after the brainstorming process and you have your ideas, I would say find a reputable publishing company, or possibly even self-publish.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think that would be the next step to get the ball rolling.
That makes sense. That's a good point too, because there are options that you can self-publish yourself or go with a publishing company, and then knowing what are the pros and cons between both, what level of support that you have, can help you along your writing journey as an author. That makes sense. I like that. That's helpful. That's helpful.
Yes.
That's super helpful.
And are there any hindsight 2020 like lessons learned that you would like to share with any authors or aspiring authors?
Yes. So for a lesson learned for myself is that you have to put in what you want out of your author journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like marketing is a whole nother ball game. Once you get your book, once you get your book, you're proud of it. It's a finished product, but it will just sit there if you don't do the work, so you have to get it
Mhm.
out there. You have to, do as much as you can. So I would say, that's definitely something that I've learned, how hard marketing is.
Mhm.
Yes, and I think people don't realize how much of an art form marketing is, and it's something that
Mm,
you have to consistently do and actually have a plan for.
yeah.
Even though I'm an educator, my bachelor's degree and my background is business, so marketing was actually one of my favorite parts of business that I enjoyed the most. So, one thing that we do, like you mentioned, just that lesson learned at Create and Educate, we have two programs that we use to be able to help authors and connect them with schools. One of them is our newsletter that we send out through our email blast and also through our groups that we belong to. Because, again, like I stated in the beginning, one of the things that we weren't aware of as educators, a lot of times we're traditionalists. So, we order from the Scholastic and the magazines that we have at the school, but some people are not aware of the amount of independent authors there are. And so when we were trying to find that cultural relevant connection for a lot of our students, we had to think outside the box and go outside of what we traditionally would order to try to find those resources. And that's how we came across so many independent authors, and what they wanted was to figure out how to connect with schools. They didn't know how
Mhm.
to market to schools, or where that process began. So our newsletter, just being featured there is one way. And then we
Mhm.
also created a module system that goes into more detail about that for people who would like to take that, connecting with multiple schools across the country to the next level. So that module system consists of about 6 modules that really helps authors. One of the things that we noticed from just our conducting business with schools live module class was that a lot of authors don't treat their authorship as a business. What they do is treat it as a hobby. And like you said, they write the book and they're like, wow, I wrote the book, I'm done,
Yeah.
and they're excited. And, unless you tell people about the book or market the book, and you have to put in work to market a book when you're an independent author, no one will know about the book except for you. So we go through how to do that, and specifically how to do that with schools from the standpoint of filling out your vendor forms, from explaining what the different pots of money are, because when you're trying to connect to different programs within the school, you need to understand general funds, Title I funds, ESSER funds. So we go through all of those funding pots, as well as how to build your email list for leaders, because usually they're the ones who are controlling the money. And
Mm,
if they're not the ones making those decisions, they'll forward that information on to the person that is responsible for that in the school. So those two things are, just really great ways to be able to connect to multiple schools if authors are serious, or even entrepreneurs, because we also work with tech firms and different people who have different products and services that are innovative for schools. And right now, to be honest, that's what a lot of schools need. We need
Mhm.
out of the box thinking, that innovation, those things that
Mhm.
were created because there's a problem,
Mhm.
um,
yeah.
where a resource doesn't exist or is solving a problem. And that's the other part of that module course. We actually show authors how to go through, or entrepreneurs, those steps of trying to figure out what problem is your book resource, or what you have to offer. How is that solving a problem in school for educators, for leaders?
Mhm.
So we walk you through those things step by step. And the people that we have worked with have had success getting into schools, and getting known into schools, and being invited. So we hope that people find good use of those things, and is able to help multiple children across the country by having being able to access those great resources.
Yeah, I have to second that. I would highly recommend taking the Create an Education Great course, because it is a whole hieroglyphic decoding on how do you get into schools, how do you market, because they speak a different language, and so they unpack that language for you so that so it sets yourself up for success. And again, it gets your book out there. And so I would recommend that course, and then also recommend our course. We have a self-paced course on grant writing through BK International Education Consultancy, and many other authors that we connect with through the power of collaboration are educators first, which is great because they understand the basics of a lesson plan. And in our module, we unpack step by step how part of a lesson plan is similar to a grant application. So we go through grants 101. How is a diagnostic assessment similar to a grant application? Where do you even go to find funding in the first place? How can you set up for your grant application it to be to address a need in schools? We know one foundational piece, if you all have a book, you're addressing literacy, right? But like, for example, with your books, Chandra, you touch on SEL, which we know since the pandemic is key for kids as well as for adults. Also being inclusive and serving the special needs population, because they have been most impacted by the pandemic, is also a need that you're helping to address with your books and with your literature. And so our grant writing course helps to unpack all those layers and to help you write a successful grant application that will help to purchase those books, get you funding, and help you to be able to connect with those schools. So it's definitely a win-win. It's definitely a win-win. And I see somebody asking, how do we get your books? So we're going to put all that information
in the
comments for you all.
But go ahead and tell them while I'm copying and pasting this to the comments.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Chandra, go ahead. You first. Please share. How can people connect with you and get access to your books?
So my books are available on Amazon.com. And also, if you would like to get in touch with me, you can get in touch with me through chandraperry.com. That's SHANDRAPERRY.com, or author Chandra on Instagram or Facebook. And also, can I just add one last thing?
Absolutely.
So for back to school, I'm also offering a book bundle for classroom. So you have an opportunity to donate to a classroom. So if you are interested in that, you can also find that on my website.
Oh, that's great. That's timely, especially for back to school. So I know there are people out here who are connected to some organizations or corporations or whatever they may be, and they want to support their local school community or just a school community in general. So that's a great way for them to help support, or for schools to even tap into those book bundles themselves, right? So that's great. So you said they can find all that information on your website, right?
Yes.
www.Chandra, Perry, Perry.com. Yes. And for me, if you all want to get access to finding out how to get the money for your grants, for your books, and how to get those into schools, you can connect with me on my Linktree at Linktree/BK Consultancy, BK CONSULTANCY. And that has everything on there. It has the socials on there, it has a website on there, and how you can get access to that self-paced course. And then how about you, Dr. Shika, and Create and Educate's courses and newsletter?
All of these links in the chat. So this is just a form that you can fill out if you are interested in getting your books into our newsletter and getting more information about the module system. If you'll just fill out that form, and we will get that information to you. Our website is www.createandeducate.solutions. So we look forward to getting more resources out to you, and even some of our authors that we have been working with previously are on, and those will be some upcoming guests that we will get that information to you as well. We've met so many phenomenal people with
Phenomenal.
great books, great resources, books of poetry, books for children, books for adults. So I'm just always excited to hear, what great things people have to offer, because again, if you're not intentional about finding this information out, sometimes we, just don't know in education, and we stick to those same resources that are stuck in front of us. So I like that we are intentional about finding people, and people are spreading the word. People are finding us. So that's always a good thing as well. Any closing remarks?
Let's see. I'll just say that since I was a young child, I loved reading, and it's just really a joy of mine to be able to spark a child's imagination. That's one of my favorite things to do in the classroom, is to read to kids. So this is not something that I'm just doing; it's something that I love.
And we can definitely tell. We can definitely tell by your inspirational story. So let us know when the next one's dropping, when the next one's coming out.
Yes, very soon.
Keep us posted. SEL Queen.
Well, thank you all that tuned in with us. Again, don't hesitate to share this feed with people that you know, authors, educators. Everyone can gather something from this. So thank you all for joining us, and we hope you have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great back to school, everybody.
Yes.